gauntlet is a form of physical punishment where a captive is forced to run between two rows, a gauntlet, of soldiers who repeatedly strike him. Etymology and spelling. The word originates from Swedish gatlopp, from gata, lane, and lopp, course, running. It was borrowed into English in the 17th century, probably from English and Swedish soldiers fighting in the Protestant armies during the 30 Years' War. The word in English was originally spelled gantlope, but soon its pronunciation was influenced by the unrelated word gauntlet, meaning an armored glove, which is from French gantelet. The spelling changed with the pronunciation. Both senses of gauntlet had the variant spelling gantlet. The spelling gantlet is preferred for the punishment in American English usage guides by Brian Garner and Robert Hartwell Fisk. American dictionaries list gantlet as a variant spelling of gauntlet, while British dictionaries additionally label it American predecessor in antiquity, known as xylocopia in ancient Greece, used as a severe military punishment, and fusterium in the Roman military as a form of execution by cudgeling. It could also be applied to every 10th man of a whole unit as a mode of decimation. Post-Roman usage. A very similar military punishment found in late armies was known as running the gauntlet. The condemned soldier was stripped to the waist and had to pass between a double row of cudgeling or switching comrades. A subaltern walked in front of him with a blade to prevent him from running. The condemned might sometimes also be dragged through by a rope around the hands or prodded along by a pursuer. Various rules might apply, such as banning edged weapons, or requiring the group to keep one foot in place, or allowing the soldier to attempt to protect his head with his hands. The punishment was not necessarily continued until death. If so, he might be finished off when unable to walk. Running the gauntlet was considered far less of a dishonor than a beating on the pillory, pranger, or stocks, since one could take it like a man upright and among soldiers. In some traditions, if the condemned was able to finish the run and exit the gauntlet at the far end, his faults would be deemed paid, and he would rejoin his comrades with a clean slate. Elsewhere, he was sent back through the gauntlet until death. A Prussian cavalry variation was to beat the condemned with stirrup straps instead of rods. It was also common practice in the French army, especially for thieves. Also used in training, notably on military cadets, as in a scene in the movie Oberstrelal. There was also a naval version of the gauntlet, notably used in the Royal Navy as a punishment for minor theft. The condemned was prevented from rushing by the master-at-arms with a cutlass and pushed forward by a corporal, whilst being beaten with rope yarns that were plaited into called nettles, which looked like smaller, improvised versions of the cat o' nine tails. The condemned could also receive a dozen lashes from the cat o' nine tails beforehand, so that blows received while running the gauntlet would aggravate the lacerations on his back. This punishment was abolished by order of the British Admiralty in 1806. Mild forms, not intended to cause permanent damage, have also been used on or by children. In the early records of the Dutch colonial settlement of New Amsterdam appears a detailed description of running the gantloper as a punishment for the court-martial of Melchior It states, "The court-martial do adjudge that he shall run the gantlope once the length of the fort, where according to the custom of that punishment the soldiers shall have switches delivered to them with which they shall strike him as he passes through them stripped to the waist, and at the fort gate the marshal is to receive him and to kick him out of the garrison as a cashiered person where he is no more to return." In Sweden, running the gauntlet was also a civilian punishment for certain crimes until the 18th century. The practice also persisted in parts of Germany and Austria as the Spießrutenlaufen or pike run, and also in Russia, until the 19th century. A notable description of the process appears in Tolstoy's short story After the Ball. It is also depicted in Stanley Kubrick's film Barry Lyndon. In Ernest Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls, the aristocrats of the town are subjected to a form of the gauntlet wherein they are led to and run off a cliff by villagers. An example of the Royal Navy's variation of the gauntlet can be seen in the Hornblower film The Examination for Lieutenant, wherein acting Lieutenant Hornblower and Matthews take the role of master-at-arms and corporal and lead a sailor through the gauntlet. The sailor in question was carefully guided through by sword point, one sword ahead of him to ensure that he did not rush through the gauntlet, and one sword at his back to ensure he did not run away and was also moved through the gauntlet. The film shows the lacerations caused by the nettles were effective, with blood running freely down the condemned man's back by the time a halt to the process was called for by Captain Sir Edward Pellew. Native American usage. A number of Native American tribes of the eastern woodlands culture or area forced prisoners to run the gauntlet. The Jesuit Isaac Jogues was subject to this treatment while a prisoner of the Iroquois in 1641. He described the ordeal in a letter that appears in the book, The Jesuit Martyrs of North America. Before arriving, we met the young men of the country, in a line armed with sticks, and he and his fellow Frenchmen were made to walk slowly past them, for the sake of giving time to anyone who struck us. Other European Americans captured by Native Americans and made to run the gauntlet included John Stark, Daniel Boone, James Smith, Cole, William Crawford, Simon Kenton, Lieutenant Colonel John B. McClelland, Susanna Willard Johnson, and Captain Daniel McDowell. Modern use. The original meanings of the phrase notwithstanding, the expression the gauntlet has been applied to various less severe punishments or tests, often consisting of consecutive blows at tasks endured sequentially and delivered collectively, especially by colleagues such as roommates or fraternity brothers, as these do not usually cause serious injuries, only bearable pain. The rituals are sometimes eagerly anticipated by the initiate as a sign of acceptance into a more prestigious group. The phrase running the gauntlet has also been used informally to express the idea of a public but painless ritual humiliation such as the walk of shame or perp walk. It is sometimes confused with the phrase run the gamut, path of health in Communist Poland. During the days of the People's Republic of Poland, the Communist authorities forced dissidents, protesters, and prisoners through a gauntlet-like process which they called the Path of Health or Ścieżka Zdrowia. In Core A History of the Workers' Defense Committee in Poland, 1976 to 1981, Jan Joseph Lipski documents the experience of one such dissident during the June 1976 protests. On the first day I walked the Path of Health on the way from a truck to the police van, about 50 meters. They ordered me to walk slowly so that each one could hit me. They beat me with fists, clubs, boots. At the very end, I fell down. I couldn't get up again under the hail of clubs. A Path of Health from the van to the second floor. When they took us to get haircuts, another Path of Health, some 40 meters long, from the door of the room all the way to the car. Yet another 10 meters in the corridor leading to the table. Then, a Path of Health to cell number 9, to the court in a prison truck, of course another Path of Health. Then again a path from prison to prison. I survived another Path of Health in the morning when they took me to Kielce. Military custom. Similar practices are used in other initiations and rites of passage, as on polywogs, or in aviation when a new pilot gets his first license. It has also been used to tack on a recently promoted enlisted man's rank insignia. In one tailhook association convention for Navy and Marine Corps pilots, female participants were allegedly forced to run the gauntlet in a hotel hallway as male participants fondled them. Sports in certain team sports such as lacrosse and hockey. The gauntlet is a common name for a type of drill whereby players are blocked to check by the entire team in sequence. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, every time a student is promoted to the next colored belt, they are required to run between two rows of their fellow students as they are struck by them with their own belts.